So we made it to the end of the block, and this is what I truly consider to be the best part of training, because this is very much either you finally get what you've been waiting for the last 4 weeks of training, or you fall flat on your face. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't fall flat on my face. I kind of popped off. I had a good end of the block. I'm pretty happy with what I did. I'm kind of goated, not gonna lie. Like, we're so back. And in being so back, I was just thinking, like, how much time do I actually spend in a training block to feel happiness and like it's worth it just for a couple minutes? And so, like, if we just do the math, like, real quick to figure out how much of this is just pain and then how much of this we're actually enjoying, I think we can get to the answer. I'm training 4 days a week for 5 weeks. That's an entire training block. And each session is about 3 hours, 3.25. If we're like counting cardio, call that like an average, because some days are longer, some days are shorter. Some days I'm yapping because I like to train with my friends, and who doesn't? But regardless, let's say on average training is 3.25 hours per session, and we're looking at 20 sessions per block. And then we multiply that by 60 to go from hours to minutes, and we multiply that by 60 again to go from minutes to seconds. At the end of all of that, we're looking at like over 200,000 seconds, and we're probably just over the moon for like a full minute. That's 60 seconds out of 200,000. That's stupid, bro. Like, the ROI on powerlifting, trash. But I'm gonna keep doing it though. Some of the dubs I took during this block, because I had some wins on every lift, were a little bit more plain than others. Like, starting off with squat, training has been incredibly consistent for the past few months. I feel like I've been able to see like the consistent progression from hitting 639 for the first time back in, I want to say October, to like 650 not too long ago, 660 plus, hopefully, come meet time. But this block hit a cool little 5 kg PR on squat with 584 for 4. Fair amount in the tank. I probably could have gotten away with loading the 5th red and taking 595, and I feel like it would have moved about the same because of the power of friendship and the 2 tortas I had the night before. Because that went absolutely crazy, and I felt like I could get my ones with Mike Tyson. But regardless, squats popping off, I feel super confident, and now that I found out my coach is coming down and I'm actually meeting this dude for the first time, I'm like, oh damn, like I gotta kind of put on for this first PLA meet. That, and then also considering the fact that I may have accidentally picked a meet where there's a bunch of like really strong people competing in one session and then like a regular session, and I'm in the regular session, but like you never want to be a complete scrub in the regular session, so I super got to show out now. Regardless, fun things to think about while getting ready for this. And meet day is October 11th, so at the time of recording this, we're 101 days out. It's starting to creep up just a little bit more. Moving on to deads, the goal has still been, like, add as much as I can with the back downs, and now we're kind of reincorporating just practice singles. This is something that I got to use in training a fair amount early on in powerlifting, just because like I was pretty big on straps, and I'm still pretty big on straps, but you can't really use straps on the platform, so you got to practice, and when you're pulling hook, practice is your friend. So knocked down a pretty chill 683, like borderline mindless. This wasn't something that I had to get in my head to actually hit or execute, but I fell on some misfortune the day of. Like, I don't know why, but trees decided to bust in the air, had my allergies killing me, and basically just water flowing from my nose. I can't even call it like snot, just straight up water, completely clear, completely just water flowing out of my nose. So I'm deadlifting the entire session with ripped up paper towels up both of my nostrils, which looked absolutely ridiculous, and I swapped them out in between almost every like warm-up set. Felt absolutely silly. Regardless, got it done. 683, very calm, and for this next block, supposed to be working up to 716 at the end of the block, so just hoping I can stay consistent there. But the more, I guess, mental part of the deadlift session was trying to get to 639 for a set of, was it 5? Yeah. I've hit 650 for 5 previously, but given that I haven't been doing that in a position where this was kind of like the back down set, I was going into this just expecting things to be more challenging. And like starting off on the block, I knew like, okay, I hit 611 for a set of 5 at the end of the previous block. I can probably push myself to throw on at least like 5 keys and end up repping out like 623. And as the block continued, I was like, actually, I got more than that. And 623 turned into like 628 and 634, and then the day of I just ended up at 639 for the set of 5. And the last rep was definitely not easy, so I'm glad that that's where I stopped instead of just continuing and try to creep up with it. But regardless, that moved pretty well. I was happy with it on the day. I'm still happy with it. Like, I feel like I've made a decent amount of progress. I feel like I've done something decent in training, so we're all good there. This next block, we're going down to a set of 4 for kind of like the top back off. So my best with the set of 4 being a top set on deadlift was 672. We'll just see if I can get anywhere around that, maybe 661. That wouldn't be too bad, especially after pulling 716. So we'll see what's there. But regardless, that's kind of the game plan. That's what I'm thinking right now. Regardless, deadlift feels pretty good. Everything feels pretty good. It's the start of a new macro. We're going into a meet, but we're still like over 3 months out. I don't know. Good vibes all around. I'm happy.
But, I don't know. Did you see the ad again? You want to save some money? Use code FLEX. Hey, I got a song. Yeah, but it's promo and plugging himself. That's what I'm talking about.
And just to mention bench, because, you know, I did in fact do that. Bench wasn't anything crazy, but it also was a pretty sizable PR. I ate an entire frozen pizza the night before, but regardless, hit a pretty decent PR off of all those carbs. 358 for a set of 4, which, like, what, dude? Am I a bencher now? Like, I did not see that coming whatsoever. And it moved so much faster than I expected, and it was also 7.5 keys over the cap, so it is what it is. Regardless, we're having a good time. I just need to actually bench like 408, 413. That would be cool. Otherwise, all these rep PRs, I'm just gonna be more frustrated with. I need to push, and I've been pushing the weighted dips. Like, I'm getting stronger all around, everywhere possible. So we'll just see what I can do when the time has arrived, because I'm pretty well overdue for like an official sanctioned meet, and best total sitting at 800 keys on the platform anyway. Like, it's time to bump that up just a little bit. So I know for whatever reason there was a point where it was really polarized with training styles, whether it be, you know, taking like a really science-based approach or just training off of vibes. Personally, I've always leaned more towards the science-based stuff just because I found it to be a little bit more convincing when you can, you know, compare all of these different studies to kind of back up your approach and have, you know, like solid logic behind, like, oh, this will legitimately get you farther with less risk of injury. And because of that, I just want to talk about an article that I spotted while just scrolling on Instagram. So I'll keep this brief just because the video's kind of winding down. But the article titled "More Training, More Gaining: Everything You Need to Know About Training Volume" by Greg Knuckles on Stronger by Science gives you a solid kind of like overview to the question of, you know, like, how much training should I be doing if I want to essentially like maximize the amount of muscle I could be putting on with my training load. But going further than just that, there's also a fair amount of data provided to show kind of like diminishing returns and at what point you're doing enough, whether that's within kind of like the earlier stages of your training or if you're in like a more late, intermediate, more advanced stage of training as well. And I do think it's worth a solid read. I would like to warn that the full like PDF of the article is 279 pages, so that's not the quickest read in the world for a lot of people, especially I'm sure in lifting, but worth checking out, because at the end of the day, if you're kind of looking for a reason to continue training and you're not really sure if all these sets that you're putting in week after week are actually doing anything, you can see, at least within the data presented here, that, you know, even if you're pushing like past 10, 15 sets and you don't really feel like you're doing much, there's at least some evidence to say, yeah, you're doing something, you just probably aren't seeing it yet. So to summarize the article in probably just the most straightforward way possible, if you want to lift more, you probably need to lift more. And if you want to get stronger, you probably also need to get bigger. That's just two main things that were common throughout the entire article. We've got plenty of different like graphs and different forms of like visual data representation to support both ideas that like, oh hey, you know, increasing your volume could be the source that increases your strength over time, and also getting bigger typically is correlated with getting stronger. So if you're feeling stuck, maybe you just need to get jacked. So that's gonna be it for me. Thanks for watching. If you're still watching right now and you're not subscribed, like, bro, please, I'm so close to 1,500 subscribers. I'm gonna lose my mind if I just keep opening up my analytics and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, like half of the people who watch your stuff aren't subscribed. It's what gives?